Now you got to be aware of what lives around your property, and you know, when I tell people you should, you know, take an assessment of wherever you live within that mile and know what's around there, and it just benefits you to know. So now you can see that this trail through the grass here is the deer coming in and walking through on a regular basis, going through and you know, laying down on the places. And there, you know, there's a spot over there where you can see the vegetation is down, so the deer was curled up there spending the night. You know, so they like this space. So they're coming in here because they feel safe, they're not being chased by predators, and they're living here because there's good food for them to eat. So you gotta, that kind of stuff and knowledge, paying attention to what's around you and what's living around you, makes your life better, you know, by knowledge. And, you know, getting back to what we talked about and discussed before, Marcus, about, you know, people are fearful of this or that or the other thing. If you continuously have this fear, then you're going to be the person standing on your lawn going broke, starving to death. I mean, well, you know, the food is sitting beside you. It's up to you to educate yourself and start teaching yourself, whether it's watching this DVD that, you know, is being produced with my information and Marcus's help to teach you and educate you, or researching like I did. I did so much research, never mind my native background and how I was raised in Northern Ontario, being learned and taught about animals and plants and what to consume and how to do it. I was taught to live from the land and be in harmony with it. And you need to know what's going on around you and pay attention to it. It just makes more intelligence and life for you, and by watching what the deer are doing, you're educating yourself. I mean, they're not going to go and eat poison. They're going to my apple orchard to eat the apples. They're going to the cedar trees to eat the trees because they know it's good food. So you should be paying attention to what they're doing. It's teaching you. They're teaching you.
So what do you say to people who go, well, that's deer food, we can't digest the cellulose like they can, blah blah blah? What do you say to that?
We're omnivores. We're a combination of both. We have eye teeth and we have regular teeth. And you know, most people like to swallow the thing whole and it comes out their butt in the same shape and form. They never spent the time to chew it.
Right.
You know, I take my time to chew my food, enjoy the food. Food is like love making. It's the fantastic benefit we have, you know, to walk over and pick up a piece of what I call chocolate mint here and put it in your mouth. And I just keep thinking, you know, that yogurt later is going to taste fantastic with that. Okay. So, you know, this is you're touching, feeling, breathing, enjoying a life. You know, it's about eating and living. Okay, for example, you know, I have this on my property in Northern Ontario, and since buying this property, I've noticed that this little mossy type plant here, it doesn't look like a moss, but from all the research I've been doing, it's a type of moss. And I'm not sure of the name of it, whatever. But I ran into an elderly lady from Europe one day on the side street of Toronto a few years ago, and she was picking this. And after talking with her for a few minutes, she explained to me that, you know, she was using this in her hot water in a bath to help the pain in her bones. So for my arthritis or whatever problem she had, she knew this plant from Europe, and she was picking it handfuls and handfuls, a big garbage bag full, and she was going home and putting it in the hot water in her bath and climbing in to help her body heal. Now, that's all I really know about it, and I'm going to continue to investigate more about it, but I do know it grows pretty well anywhere where it's pretty damp or whatever. In Northern Ontario, I see it growing like right in a rock field where there's obviously a little bit of moisture and some moss on the ground as well. And it grows on this property here prolifically. It's everywhere. So, like again, I said, you know, I'm going to do more investigation, and it's something to be looking into. Okay, we should come back to our wild carrot here because we just see something interesting. You can see your little spot to identify it. But now, before it's going to start making seeds, you see how it makes a bird's nest? It just closes up like a little ball. And now eventually they'll start to turn brown, and the seeds will all just be there, and you could shake it out and shake all the seeds out. But if you pay attention to it, see how it just closes up? Nice little bird's nest, little ball. Beautiful thing. It's amazing to watch stuff from beginning to end. Look at the amount of apples. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. It's just unbelievable how much apples there is. I can't believe it sometimes myself.
Man steps away for a Just a tiny bit, nature starts taking over.
Ultimately, there's no choice in it. Nature will win. It will reclaim the earth. See the wild grapes? These actually are going to turn into like little blue Concord grapes. They're just naturally growing wild here on this vine.
You didn't plant them?
No, this just grew by itself. Canada, the United States, I had wild grapes. You know, they were here. The Oregon grape was here before the Europeans came. These might have been planted from some European person a long time ago, and the seeds, the birds brought them here. But they've turned wild, and they're a little smaller than we would find in a grocery store. But when these turn nice blue color by, say, October, and you'll see blackbirds and robins and any bird getting a chance to pick away at them, then I will come in here and I will get to eat my fair share too. I'll pick some fresh and eat them. And we'll take the grapes and clean through, take the bad stuff out. And my lovely wife Lorraine here will put them on the stove with some boiling water and boil them up, cook them up. And then we'll grind them through a blender, and I'll add a little bit of honey and preserve them in a jar. And you will find that if you do this with this type of grape versus a grape you would buy from the store, if you leave this jar with honey and water made into like a jam or a syrup in a jar, after a year or so, you can open this jar, and it has like a liqueur alcohol strength to it, like it ferments in the jar, where commercial grapes will never do that. This will ferment in the jar, even after it's been cooked. It's got so much power that it will ferment and make probiotic in there, and natural enzymes help you digest it better, even after it's cooked. And you know, people don't see that as a real value, and I do, because we've, you know, even though with the seeds and everything, we just blend it all down and make it into a jelly.
Or you could just eat them straight as grapes.
Oh yes, you could eat it straight as grapes. Pick it off, and I chew the seeds, eat everything. The other thing too is, most people don't realize that any grapes you get in a grocery store are one of the most commercially pesticide-laden fruits that you buy in a store that is on the market. They are just 9 times out of 10 sprayed with something toxic to keep, you know, because if you look at grapes growing in the wild, you'll see they naturally get little bacteria spots and worms in them, and you know, even the nice looking clump of grapes like that, you can already see there's some dead ones in there and some stuck together with blue, like a fungus or whatever on them. Everything seems to attack them. But the ones that are nice and clean and everything else, because they're survivors. They had to survive and grow a seed and the right amount of flesh and everything so that you could eat it. It's got power that you can't get from the store. When you eat that, you just notice, you feel good. It's something valuable. Your body tells you that.
And even organic grapes at the store, watered with municipal water, and you know,
not only that,
soil that's already dead.
Not only that, even the organic growers are using some forms of organic sprays or unnatural chemicals on there, you know, to an extent, to keep the bugs away, because otherwise they would barely get a harvest. I don't plan to do that at all on this property, and whatever I get, I get. It's just like the apple orchard. Whatever I get out of there that's good, we'll take. Whatever is damaged, we'll cut off the good off of it, and we'll turn it into applesauce. You know, and we'll have food to eat in the wintertime. And you can see, look at the honeybee there, or the bumblebee, going into the raspberry cane flowers and pollinating them. See how busy he is just going in there?
So what other part of the maple tree do you use?
The maple tree primarily has been used for maple syrup. Put a tap in the springtime. And the secret to knowing when to tap your maple tree is when the robins sing in your tree in the springtime. When the robins come, they always perch in a maple tree with there's no leaves on it, and they start to sing, and the snow is still on the ground. When you see the maples and the robins together, it's time to put a tap in and start taking the sap out. And one thing that's really good to do is at that time of the year, you put a container up, and there's a good frost, or it freezes a little bit overnight. In the morning, you go out early before the sun melts the water, and you take out the pieces of ice out of your pail, and you get better quality sap. less water. So when you're boiling it down to make maple syrup, it's faster and easier for you to do. When you're taking a tap in a tree and the maple water is coming out, it's very good for you to drink the maple water fresh from the tree. It's lightly sweetened. It's extremely healthy for the body, high in magnesium. Your body needs magnesium more than calcium and potassium. Magnesium keeps your heart beating, keeps your blood flowing. Without 1% in your blood, you're dead. Your heart will stop beating instantly. You want to save someone's life, put cayenne pepper underneath their tongue if they're having a heart attack, because it's high in magnesium. Same thing like maple. So that's why eating these keys would be a very, very, very good thing to nutritionally do to your body, because it's going to give you a lot of magnesium. And it's maybe not the greatest tasting thing, but it's very healthy. Earlier I wanted to point out the gum resin from the spruce tree, and we couldn't see a really good chunk. But here you can see how soft and malleable it is. You know, there's a big pile of it here. Now, we would collect this when we were kids. Someone would come along and take a chunk off about this big and stick it in your mouth against your will. And you would chew this, and when you chew this, it doesn't taste the most pleasant thing, I guess, but it's very good for your benefit to your health. It keeps you going regularly to the washroom. You can't get it off your teeth once you put it in your mouth. It will stay on there till it basically dissolves with your saliva. Your teeth will come back white again. But it will stay on there till you chew every little bit of it. It's sticky. That's the most sticky gum going. It's the greatest thing to make a birch bark canoe with, which was traditionally done. Seal up the cracks. We don't have any white birch here to demonstrate. We have lots up north, but we take the white birch bark, take the inside layer of the tree, place it outside, seal it up with the gum and sew it together, and you have a container for storing any kind of food, dried or otherwise, in the ground, and no bugs will touch it with 2 trees.